Thank you. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Boer? Here. Mrs. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Swager?
Here.
Mrs. Thomas? Here. Mr. Benton is absent tonight.
The reading of the news.
Sure. This is a public meeting of the Board of Education for the purpose of conducting the school district's business, and it is not to be considered a public community meeting. There's a time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes. Upon request of the superintendent, the district shall make reasonable accommodation for a person with a disability to be able to participate in this activity. And a recording shall be made of each meeting of the board as administrative aid and serve as preserving public comments or documents of the board.
Presentation of the agenda.
I do have 2 deletions from the agenda.
Okay.
If you look at number 6, should probably be on page 5 if you're looking along there. It's 6E, budget stabilization transfer. We're going to remove that from the agenda tonight. We can take care of that in August. There's a little bit more work needs to be done there. So we'll remove that. And then under 6G, certified employment, we had put a to be determined there. We're still going through an interview process. We're going to remove that to be determined so no one will be recommended in that place. And other than that, those are the only 2 changes to the agenda that I have.
Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll.
Mrs. Boer? Yes. Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Swager?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
On to the public remarks. For LifeWise is Bonnie Nunley.
Mr. Swager, some of the LifeWise committee contacted me and we talked about the 3 minutes. So we were going to ask the board if they could have a little bit more time. We thought no more than 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Make sure we record. Okay.
All right. Is the mic okay? You guys can all hear? Yeah? Okay. So hello. My name is Bonnie Nunley. I am a mother of 2 in the Johnstown-Monroe School District. And I also work at the elementary school in the cafeteria as a cashier. So I've gotten to know a lot of the children in the district. I'm also a member of the LifeWise Johnstown Steering Committee, which is why I'm here tonight. And our purpose of this meeting is to address questions and concerns the board has about our LifeWise program. And also for us to tell you why we believe this program should be offered in our schools. Before we do, though, I wanted to quickly update everyone on the progress that we've had so far. Back in August, our community had a kickoff meeting. From that, our steering committee was formed, and we put together a logistical plan to show how the program would work in our schools, mainly the elementary and intermediate schools. In October, we presented the plan to Dr. Wagner, which was reviewed by the board. Our district's policy was also reviewed, which covers absences for religious instruction. And currently, we have over 300 signatures of people in our community who want to see this program go forward. A lot of those, we have over 6,000 in funds also raised, most of which was raised by children in the community from our elementary, intermediate, and middle school. So they want this program as well. We have applicants for our director and board positions in place, volunteers and teachers. So we're ready, and we've been amazed by the community support in all of this. I joined this committee because I believe that character education positively impacts children's lives, and that this program that this program will greatly benefit not only our students, but our schools and communities as well. I also want my own children to have the opportunity to attend. LifeWise is taking off nationwide because people are seeing the impact. This is exciting what's happening, and we want to be a part of it. So at this point, what we are asking for tonight is direction from the board to move forward so that we can start hiring and training our team and to get this program started in Johnstown. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce Ron Richetier, our launch coach, who is here to address questions and concerns the board has about the program. Thank you.
Thank you. Glad to be here with you guys. I'm a former public educator, survived 31 years of board meetings and as an administrator and another 9 as a teacher. So I appreciate everything that you guys are doing, and just wanted to kind of recap. I know you guys had a presentation earlier about LifeWise, but just to recap a little bit and included some most frequently asked questions that you guys may have in your mind as well. So moving ahead, just a reminder, LifeWise really has a commitment to try to keep everything legal, simple, and practical. And the legal part is that we really strive to stick with everything on the federal, the state, and the local level to make sure that the separation of church and state is always in place, and that's how we keep it legal. Simple, we focus on the central message of the Bible and utilize character traits along the way as fundamental themes to speak to common themes that are really applicable to all people. And practical, we want to have a lasting change in our schools, in our communities, and the students, and help them apply that to their lives, and that's where we see the change has been happening. So why release time? Who benefits? Well, students do. Research definitely shows that, both academically and behaviorally. If they're involved in a release time program, that has been documented. In addition, the schools have an opportunity to also reinforce the character traits that are part of the LifeWise program and vice versa. We've had a lot of schools that have really coordinated with both entities and involve the same character traits so that the kids have that repetition. And then most importantly, I think the families, the businesses, and in the community, all the organizations really that are involved with it are making an investment in the students' moral and character development. So where we're at was kind of mentioned in the opening remarks that we are now serving over 15,000 students, have 133 live programs, and there's another 150 that are slated to be opened up this fall. It has gone rapidly, and we're doing our best to make sure that we can serve all the communities. So some of the most popular questions in the event of an accident in regards to liability, who has that responsibility? And from the moment that the students leave the door of the school until they return, LifeWise has an umbrella policy that would cover anything that may occur in that regard. We also work really hard in regards to security and safety protocols to go along with what the school already has in place and duplicate that for the best interests of the kids. Another one that pops up a lot, and again, with the experience that I've had in the past, school schedules, we know they're crazy busy. Where are you going to fit it in? So one of the questions really is just that: how do we make it work? Each school district is totally different. We like to really work hand in hand with the school to try to figure out where it could fit in. A lot of schools have integrated it into their special rotation. Some schools do not have that available as an option. Library, technology periods, study halls, but one piece of the law is that students will not miss any mandatory or core curriculum courses. So if there's no time for LifeWise because of it being able to fit into the special rotation, how does it work? Again, we really try to work hard with the school administration to make sure there's an acceptable way to put it in. We've had a lot of schools actually have experimented with their lunch period, and that has worked really well and taken away all of the academic concerns that may happen, especially coming out of COVID and everybody trying to catch up. And again, it's the recognition that we know that school schedules are extremely busy. The last point on that one is just to point out that the Supreme Court ruling that occurred in 1952 was something that was applicable to all people, to all religions, and really was intended to give parents an option and a choice. And that really is something to consider when it comes to the schedule. And then another question that comes up often is, well, what kind of data do you have on the impact of release time? Studies have shown and concluded that those that are involved in a release time religious program just do better in regards to mental health, higher social functioning, and fewer self-destructive tendencies, including drug and alcohol use. So what about LifeWise? So with the ruling and the policies that are on the books, most of them will say that the school district can either encourage or discourage participation. So therefore, it makes it kind of a challenge to try to get data, hard data on what happens before LifeWise or after LifeWise. So what we've elected to do, and we're trying to work with some companies that can, that can try to generate additional data. But at this point, we have 2 years worth of data from educators. 76% of them that are, have been surveyed, think that their school has benefited from a LifeWise program. 76% are satisfied with the way LifeWise has worked with the school and the schedule, and that's out of 495 school personnel, administrators, and teachers. And then a big one that's been extremely well received. Obviously, 96% of parents would recommend that their children be enrolled in a LifeWise program. Over 1,000 respondents on those surveys. So another one that pops up is, what about, if we offer this in our district? Seems like a good program, but won't it open the door for other programs to be offered? Yeah, yes, it does. That Supreme Court ruling is for all. So anyone from a religious background that has a program would be able to to conduct a program. Our stance on that is that we really do believe, and you guys have a stellar community, just an amazing community to be a part of, that parents are going to make a good choice if there are organizations that try to also institute the program. So who keeps track of the attendance? LifeWise is responsible to keep attendance records on a daily basis whenever the students are gone, and those records are available to the school district upon request. So that's really the end of my portion. We'll have some time for some Q&A a little bit later. Linda.
Good evening. I'm Linda Brobeck. I am a former teacher and former principal here in Johnstown. I was born and raised here as well. I'm excited to be able to share what I have seen and what I know about LifeWise. Some 20 plus years ago, Sherry Jones and I started character education in the elementary schools, and it was called Character Counts in both elementaries. In learning about LifeWise, I was pleased to know that many of the teachings of Character Counts in the program, along with Bible stories and the gospel message, are part of this. Since I retired, I have been supervising student teachers for Otterbein University. And on a side note, Johnstown, you are doing a stellar job. Stellar job. I'm so proud of our community. But over these past 12 years, I have been, last fall, I was at New Albany, and I got to witness students lining up in the office and being guided out to the LifeWise bus. The volunteers had on their red LifeWise shirts. The children were well behaved and excited about their time with LifeWise. The only feedback that I have heard from office staff and teachers was positive. As a former teacher and principal, I do understand the concern for scheduling. What is really good about this program is that the students are not taken out for any academic time. LifeWise works well with the schedule. Of course, parent permission is needed. Knowing that there are many schools in our surrounding area that have already implemented LifeWise, I am encouraged to know that Johnstown will have the opportunity to participate in this program.
Mr. Swager, we're just about 3 minutes into the left on the 15th. I think they've got you.
I'll be quick, and I'll try not to cry, but I apologize if I do. My name is Ashley Pugh, and I am a parent of students here at Johnstown. I have two that are in the middle school, and my youngest actually starts kindergarten in the fall. So I'm really excited, and that Johnstown will implement LifeWise, but it goes even deeper than that for me. Statistically speaking, I should not be the woman that I am today. I had a less than ideal childhood. I grew up in a home with abuse and alcohol. My dad went to prison when I was 12, and I was completely abandoned when I was 14. But thankfully, I knew Jesus from a young age, and he is the reason why I am the woman that I am today. So the reason why I want to see this implemented in our school district is to give kids hope that might not have hope otherwise. So I pray that you guys will consider this and that you will partner with LifeWise so that way you can help children that might not have help otherwise. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. You're making me cry. This is my son, Caleb. My name is Cindy Humphrey Reed. Some of you may also know my mom, who was Sunny Humphrey, a nurse in the district for many years. So I know she was very loved by many staff and students alike. I'm just very excited about this, excited about the community support. I know Caleb has been a little sad that we didn't get it going before he left elementary school. He's now going into middle school in the fall. My other son is in high school going to C-Tech this fall. But I still believe very much in that program. I'm excited about this opportunity in the community. Have seen it happening in so many others. I actually met a girl from New Albany, been in their program, and she has moved to Mount Vernon, and they are starting a program this fall, and she's already enrolled. She was very excited about it. So just happened to meet her at a craft fair, and that was really exciting. I'm just excited that churches in our community are supportive community members. We have that robust list of, and I just want this town to fall behind. We should be leading the way, and all of our neighboring schools have already implemented this. So we're just asking that you give us the opportunity to bless our students as well. And we do understand that implementing it requires some challenges, inconveniences, but we believe the benefits will far outweigh any challenges that are there, and that we're here as a committee and the LifeWise staff to help with collaboration to make this a smooth transition, to work with you to make it a smooth operation in Johnstown to bless our children. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
There was literally 15 seconds left.
We have 15 seconds for questions.
Can you send me a copy of that PowerPoint? Do you have that available so I can share that with the board? If you send, yeah, I think you have my email. Then that way I can just send that to the board and they can look at that afterwards.
Sure.
So I just had a couple quick questions for myself. Are there other competing organizations out there other than LifeWise that we would be approaching us? I've not heard of others. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. One of the unique things about LifeWise is that really stick with that straightforward. So there are very high-level things that are doing that.
Okay.
Yeah. So no one that has the backing, the liability insurance, everything for the communities that would be, I guess, a serious opportunity to join.
And then of the 133 that are live, what's the longest active one?
So the first one that was not a LifeWise program at the beginning is in Van Wert, Ohio, and they're having 95% of their elementary students attending. That opened up in 2012, and it became a LifeWise program, and it was actually known as Stand for Truth at that time, and it was Cross Over the Hill was the name of the program. And then 2018, LifeWise was born. They became a LifeWise program. So the programs started at a trajectory of 1 the first year in 2018, 3 more the next, 5 the following. Then a year ago, had 33 programs, and now 133. So it's just been the trajectory of how it's went. So initial 2012, most of the other ones 18, 19, and that was within the pandemic years as well. So.
I'm very familiar with the Van Wert program, and I understand the proximity of where the kids go for their program versus they don't board school buses. Is that an accurate information?
Yes, they actually have a sidewalk that they can cross over that little hill that's there.
For that reason, over the hill.
Yes. Yeah, sure.
We actually have locations secured already. The Johnstown Independent Baptist Church is near the elementary school, and it would require a shuttle, but it's not far. And then for the intermediate school, there's been talk with the Youth for Christ building that's just across Main Street. So short commutes, but yes, probably would require a bus of some sort, which we would work on.
I had one more question. I think I'm not unique. There are other board members here that are probably getting texts or emails or whatever regarding the initiation of this program. I think the question that I get most frequently is, why is this not an after-school program rather than taking the time in school, for the reason that we would have to modify our schedule. The kids that would participate in this program would not be participating in another program that was currently scheduled or previously scheduled in the school day. What's the thought about that? Because it's definitely, there's a lot of growth out there for that in the community for that opinion as well. You can answer that.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Again, with the ruling of the release time, that's most paramount. And the other thing that we've really found out is that, as you guys know, I mean, our world is changing rapidly, and the job that your educators are doing is totally different than it was 15, 20 years ago. Their demands are much, much greater. As well, in the world, there's a lot of choices. Lots of kids are involved in after-school activities, whether it be athletics, whatever program, dance, you name it. And to have a before and after-school program, you definitely have to rely on the parents in order to make sure that they're there and picked up. So the outreach is much greater, utilizing that Supreme Court ruling during the school day.
And the comeback in my emails is you could use the same busing format to take the kids after school to a specific location and bring them back to a point of interest, whatever that might be, a point of pickup. I just need to ask these because those are the questions I get.
Absolutely. And again, I would just reinforce that, release time in order to go along with that Supreme Court ruling, it is a program during the school day.
What's the average time? Do you have an average time of all the? I'm sure each district's a little different. But
Yeah, you got the answer already.
Are
Everybody's
they
a little
vastly different?
No. I mean, if it would be great if there was a 45-minute time block within the school day. We've got programs that operate from 30 minutes up to 90 minutes. The 90-minute situation is just because of the uniqueness of the school district. The kids go every other week. So about the same amount of time, but on an every other week basis. And just a reminder too, that it's once a week, that a student would be attending, not every day. Parent permitted, no one's forced to attend.
How many students would you be able to take at a time? Would we ever worry about students who are interested in us not even being able to accommodate them? And then, some kids can go, some kids can't.
Yeah, great question. That's really on the shoulders of the LifeWise committee to look ahead and to make sure that that's done. I think the thing with the school is that having that open communication to say, hey, we're at limit right now, but within this amount of time, we can, we could go higher. I can tell you that the plan is to always look ahead so that any child that wants to attend is not, not hindered in any way. The biggest thing from school standpoint is we don't want to end up having it like a fire drill where kids are bringing in the permission slip that day and they expect to go that day. There's got to be communication there and enrollment periods that would be suitable on both ends.
I was going to respond to Ruth Ann's question about the after school. And I even got feedback here in the room that parents can't pick up their kids if they're working, and it's still difficult because they would still have to come and pick up their kids, whereas the transportation is already supplied during school. And I know for me, my kids have activities after school and we need family time. There's already so much packed into our worlds after school that if this is a benefit they could get during the day, it would just be incredible.
And I would just add one more thing, because most of you know me anyway, but anyway, I would add another caveat to this too. For me, we've spent thousands of dollars trying to catch up with our curriculum for COVID reasons. We are running study tables after school. We're running study tables in school. We're augmenting our curriculum with a lot of enrichment. It troubles me to think that we might not be able to have the enrichment time that we currently are enjoying. Our goal is to bring these kids back from COVID and back from not having the academic security that they had a year ago. So I'm looking at all these things. I am not opinionated to one side or the other, one portion of this issue or the other. But that's a really heavy thing to me when we've spent, well, our last expenditure was at least $250,000 to try to get the kids back where they need to be. I am very much in favor of religious education, for sure. Those who know me know that we have a church family, and we certainly do make sure that our kids are involved with church activities. So I'm not opposed to it, but I'm troubled by the concern of the money we've spent, the time that we see, the extra teachers we've hired, the coaches we've hired to bring our kids along and back where we know they need to be to face the world. And I don't want to shortcut religion in any way, but I'm just not sure how to do that and take them out of school for any period of time, because I know that that's going to create somewhat of an inequity with the kids that would like to go, but they're at study table too, and yes, their parents have to pick them up, but they've chosen to do that because they know their kids need it right now. So that's what I'm wrestling with. That's the kind of information and feedback I'm getting. I haven't made a decision, but I just want you to know I'm troubled by all the questions, including I hear your position, and the gal in Van Wert, Ohio, is one of your leaders there. Carol Cohart is a lifelong friend of mine and will remain that way. So I heard a long time ago about Likewise before you all brought it to me. So that's my thought for this evening.
Yeah, and I appreciate those comments. I mean, you wouldn't be doing your job if you didn't have those feelings, and that's great. The thing that I can tell you from the LifeWise standpoint is, again, it's really in its first infancy years, but the amount of growth is really due in large part to the fact that it's been successful, and there have been a lot of districts that have partnered with LifeWise, and they have, when I say partner, I mean allowed it to occur. And they have seen the benefits even during those hard times that you talk about. So, and just know that part of the process is to work hand in hand with the school to try to stay away from those sacred hours as much as possible. We understand that.
We can't hear you, huh? That's all right.
Just like going back to my testimony, if you're not offering it during school hours, you may be limiting kids that would never have the opportunity to hear, because my parents never would pick me up from school. I couldn't even do sports. So having it offered during school time, you have the ability to reach more. And academics is so important to me. Obviously, I have children too, and I want them to learn. But this also gives them an opportunity to learn morals and values that they might not be learning any other time, which is very, very important, right? To make good, trustworthy young students and then into adulthood. So I would echo that. I don't want my children missing out on anything academic, but if it's an opportunity to miss a study hall or, something like that once a week, I would 100% forfeit that to where they can learn good, strong moral values to make them good, trustworthy, humans someday. So yes, or lunch and recess. Yes, for sure.
And Ron, I believe they're not missing any mandatory courses either. We had talked about over lunch or recess or library tech class. But also as a parent, I feel the same way as Ashley does. I feel character education is just as academic. When I was going through the brochures for LifeWise, there was a quote by Martin Luther King Jr., and he said, "Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education." And I firmly believe that. Like in my own children, I believe, I want them to be successful and smart. I want them to do great things with their life. But just as much, I want them to have good character. So I believe it's just as important.
Thank you.
Anything else? Will you send me the PowerPoint and I'll make sure to get that to the board?
Sure. And just from the team standpoint, is there somebody that they should follow up with in regards to next steps? So what would you like to do there?
Well, I think we have to wait till Mr. Benton gets back in town as well. The next work session meeting will have discussion. It's a full board discussion. So that'll be in 2 weeks.
No, it's not
August,
till
August 4th, 5th, 7th.
14th. 7th? 14th.
14th.
Yeah.
There you go. That's good.
Appreciate your time.
When
Thank
the
you.
next meeting, August 14th.
Okay.
We only have one meeting in
Yeah,
July because of schedules.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Presentation? Sure. Coach Justice, I'm going to say a couple of things, and I thought maybe you could address the board as well about the girls softball. So as coach is making his way up, we know that our girls softball team did an exceptional job, and I'll read some of the statistics and the highlights. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the softball team here earlier because our board meeting just missed the last game, and then there was an all-star game. So, and then they were busy at the city one night. So anyways, let me just hit some highlights, and Coach, feel free to jump in because I know there's a lot to celebrate here. But
Sure.
As I understand, undefeated, 14-0 this year at home. 13-1 LCL Cardinal Championship, 10-0 in their division, 26-3 overall record, and that includes the postseason. District champions, regional champions, state Final Four team. Max Prep's number 2 team, ranked D3 team, and number 7 overall, and the OHSAA coaches poll number 10 state-ranked team. So I'm sure I missed something in there, but if you can, if you could highlight a little bit more for us.
Sure. Yeah. As Dr. Wagner said with the girls, we had a few today. We have a lot of our girls that are either on vacation or travel season. So unfortunately, a lot couldn't come tonight. But yeah, it was an amazing year. As Dr. Wagner said, 26-3 overall, which is a school record for Johnstown. This group actually played 16 winter season games and went 16-0. So our 2023 team was 42-3 overall. So, which is incredible. So, yeah, I mean, the girls are back to work. Yeah, amazing year. We broke a lot of records, school records. We got some individual records that I'm trying to research and see, but I think we got a couple girls that broke some school records individually as well. So, yeah, it was an amazing year. I want to thank Dr. Wagner, the school board, Mr. Brickner for inviting us out. And the girls are back to work because we're hungry to get back to Akron next year. So the only thing I do want to add is we are actually hosting the Licking County All-Star Softball game on Wednesday, which is big news. It will be here in Johnstown. We actually have 4 girls, if we include Addie, who's hurt, but we had 4 girls selected from our program to play in that. So huge accomplishments there as well. So if anybody's free on Wednesday and wants to come out and watch some really good softball, for people who don't follow softball, Licking County is full of talent here. In my opinion, the LCL is the toughest division or the toughest conference in softball, and Licking County has a ton of talent here. So we got a lot of girls. I think there's 34 signed up to play. So we have a ton of talent that will be here on Johnstown Wednesday for some softball. So come out and cheer us on.
Coach, what time is the All-Star game?
6 o'clock. So
6 o'clock.
we'll start. I think the girls arrive at 4:45. First pitch is at 6, but we'll do player announcements and stuff about 5:45. So
Who are the girls from our squad playing?
so we have 3 seniors that were able to play. Lainey Zach, who's a senior, well, just graduated. Addie Triplett is selected, but she is hurt, unfortunately. And then Macy Walters. And then we actually had a incoming sophomore, Aubrey Del Sacato, that was selected to play in it as well. So
Excellent.
Coach, thank you for everything you're doing with this, because I think, we talk about the whole child and the importance of, events outside of school as well too. So thank you very much for everything you're doing. There is a fireworks meeting on Wednesday. Some of us might not be able to make it.
Okay.
As rescheduling the event.
Sure.
And
I understand.
or it could be late. But
Okay.
Wednesday at 6.
Yep.
Right.
Sounds good.
Good.
Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're gonna have the girls.
Congratulations.
Coach, do you want to have the girls introduce themselves? Let's get you a mic again, though, so we can.
So again, obviously we had 16 girls this year. We had 16 girls in our program this year. And as you see, we're missing quite a few.
Okay, is this good?
Yes.
Okay. I am Brooklyn Siegel. I am an incoming junior, and
I'm Peyton Mitchell, and I'm also an incoming junior. I'm Cameron Bollinger, and I'm an incoming sophomore.
I'm Lainey Zach, and I just graduated.
And I'm Addie Triplett, and I also just graduated.
So
I'm Coach Bev, as they call me. I just want to take an opportunity to tell you guys the softball program in Johnstown, obviously, is very, very good. Watching these girls come up through middle school, I knew this would be a special year. I've coached for a while and knew this would be a great, fun season. And I also wanted to thank the community, because the game in Akron and all through the season, the outpouring of support was just awesome, and we appreciate it. So thank you.
Well,
Thank you very much.
congratulations. That was a great season. It was a lot of fun going. I went to a few of the games, and the fans, the parents really have fun beyond just the girls on the on the field. So, and I did enjoy seeing you avenge your loss against Watkins. So I appreciated that game. So it was a fantastic season. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Mr. Swagger, we had another person sign up to speak, but I guess he got missed from the list. So we had Jessica Ryan.
I didn't get missed. I skipped her.
Oh, where she skipped? Oh, sorry.
No, Dr. Wagner's comments were actually a great segue. Can you see me over this thing? No. All right, sorry. So, good evening. When my 8th grader told us that he was going to run track last spring, we were very surprised. As Mr. Swagger can attest, we are baseball people. My husband would tell you he was a runner back in the day, but I've seen no evidence to confirm that in the last 25 years. All that to say, I had no idea what to expect as a track parent. But what I saw at track meets was truly remarkable. Track is a very unique sport because it allows student athletes of all ability levels to experience success, not just by winning their event, but by beating their own personal record. What a wonderful life skill to keep improving yourself and measure success with that. not just a medal or a first place finish. What I observed also included a community that encouraged each other, from those finishing first to those finishing last. The athletes cheered for each other. Our Johnnies supported each other like nothing I've ever seen. But what is even more remarkable is that the entire track community supports each other, not just their teammates. I saw athletes from opposing teams high-five each other, hug each other, and even completely exhausted, laying next to each other, chatting on the turf after completing a race. The benefits of track exemplify the qualities we want to instill in our Johnnies, pushing yourself to be your best while building up and supporting each other. The wonderful news for us here in Johnstown is that track is a quickly growing sport. Last year, there were around 20 middle school track athletes, and this year there were almost 40. Without exact numbers, I believe that has to make track the second largest middle school team, second only to football. With JYAA adding track, it will continue to grow. And with all the tremendous benefits to our students, we as a district need to support that growth. I noticed when all of the supplemental positions were posted at the end of the school year that this year's 40 middle school track athletes had one paid coach. One. We can do better than that, and we need to do better than that for our student athletes. I think the numbers alone require a second paid coach. Volleyball, boys and girls basketball all have significantly fewer athletes, and yet both have two paid coaches. In addition to numbers, our student athletes' safety and supervision should be our top priority. One coach to 40 athletes is a safety concern for obvious reasons. It is also a concern with regard to supervision. Track coaches cover multiple acres of land, as there are athletes in the shot and discus area, the long jump area, outside the stadium, away from the shot and discus area, and at opposite ends of the stadium with high jump and others. That's at least 4 different areas needing supervision and many athletes needing coaching and encouragement. In addition to safety and supervision, the efficacy of training that can be provided to athletes learning new and high-risk skills, hurdling, high jumping, throwing weighted objects, is impacted with only one coach. As the interest in the sport continues to grow, we will need another bus, and without another adult to ride that bus, how will we transport our teams to competitions? With one coach, there's only one person available to run practices. And that if that coach is ill or has required teacher meetings or district obligations, it impacts the ability to hold practices. Amanda Benito filled the role of second coach the past 2 seasons as a volunteer. She did a truly outstanding job, and it was impossible to differentiate between her role and Coach Dyer's. While we as track families could not be more appreciative of her time and dedication, it cannot and should not continue to be done as a volunteer.
Jessica, let me interrupt for a second. We're getting beyond our 3 minutes. I need to ask the board.
I have a really good closing.
Well, okay. I just want to, but we just for procedure,
I'll
is it
skip.
okay for the board to extend another 3 minutes? Okay.
Yeah, I don't have to. I can stop.
No, it's okay.
Okay. All right.
We're bated breath now. About your
Thank you.
closing.
I was talking as fast as I can. Okay. So there are very few volunteers out there, if any, of Mrs. Benito's caliber. And in closing, I'm going to shift gears from parent to teacher for a moment. Melissa Dyer joining our Johnstown staff family was a win, a big win for our students and athletes, a PR, if you will. We have a lot of outstanding coaches in this district, but I can assure you with absolute conviction that whether it is in her role as Mrs. Dyer at JIS or Coach Dyer at JMS, Melissa Dyer is the best of the best. She is not just a phenomenal coach, but a phenomenal teacher and colleague as well. She chose us when I am confident she would be hired for any position for which she applied. So let's show her, and more importantly, our student athletes, the support they deserve by adding a second paid coach to our growing middle school track program. Thank you so much, and go Johnnies.
Thank you.
Board members, I know it's not typical to respond to items because we often have to research, but interestingly enough, I just talked to Coach Dyer on Friday. She came in to see me and was giving me some information. So that happened late, really late on Friday, actually, afternoon. So I'll look into that and I'll get back to you with some more information because she exemplifies some of what Mrs. Ryan said.
Thank you. In general, we're looking over all the supplementals. It's a bigger issue across all sports. Some are growing, some are shrinking. We're disparate and some are maybe need to adjust it. This is a larger conversation, but this district spends hundreds of thousands of dollars on supplementals. So it is a large cost to the district. So each one does matter. These are dollars that matter. So we will be taking a comprehensive look. We've asked Dr. Wagner, they're looking into time spent on each activity, how many hours coaching, all of those things. We're creating spreadsheets here. to try to right size everything. So this will be folded into that conversation.
So I'll get back to the board with a recommendation. I'll work with that. I haven't even had time to work with Mr. Brickman yet about that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so I think we're back to presentations. One of the things that I know we've had some preliminary discussion, but wanted to talk about the status of the board office. As you know, it's a house, right? Well, there is a status.
It's a water break.
Yes. So it's a house. It's not meant to serve a commercial purpose, and obviously the building is not holding up well. And we've talked about putting that in our master plan, and also one of the things we've talked about is potentially moving the board office temporarily, and where will we move that? And we're looking at the intermediate school. There is some room available there. So Mr. Jenny will be able to show a little renderings here, some pictures, and then he's also able to procure some office equipment of no cost to us via his good efforts. But wanted to talk to the board just generally about moving this forward. Overall, we're looking at 3 classrooms over at the intermediate school. It wouldn't take a lot to set us up there because we're operate primarily digital. The current board office, as we know, like I said, is not holding up well. The floors are beginning to actually sag from the weight, and some of the walls are
lanai
starting to
fell off.
detach. The what?
The lanai, our little balcony bench there, fell off the house. I
I
think.
say yes.
I want to mention the restroom. You take your life in your hands to go in the female restroom. Just if anybody's had that experience, the floor is going down.
Yeah.
I
And
don't
it-
think
Not in good shape.
from a board standpoint, anyone that's been in this district and gone into the board office understands there's a need there. I don't think this is going to come as a shock to anybody in this community.
But Dr. Wagner wants to keep the beautiful tile he has in the office that was left over from one of our building projects. It's
That is a
red,
misrepresentation.
yellow, blue, it's this big.
Yeah. But so what we want to do is, and this is, there's multiple facets to this, but if we can start to incorporate this into our master planning, obviously we've talked about building usage, high schools, going to be our next big building. We have to look at our big project, but we think the board office probably 2 or 3 years, and then we could fold that into our master planning, have to build a new board office at some point, and want to talk about that. We have 3 classrooms there that Dave has, and there's 3 on the bottom there if you go right to left. And we could fit about 9 staff in there, and that would hold all the board office staff right now. The way the building is constructed, and we can jump in on this because you're more familiar than I am, but that entrance there and what we'll call the side would be the board entrance there. And again, we'd be able to fit everything we need in there. Some of the ideas, just to give you some thoughts about this, parking is always an issue. We believe that we can recapture 11 parking spaces. We'll have to move some people around. There'll be some behind the middle school, but we think we can recapture some space there. Data is something that's important, not only data ports, not only do we use the computer links, if you will, but also for phones, which we have a voice over internet protocol. So we have that. Electric is all doable. Mr. Jenny's confirmed that we have enough service. We'd have to drag some line or supply some line. And as I said, you can talk just a highlight here, Mr. Jenny, about furniture and partitions. And then the other big issue we have to think about is classroom space. We have, if the board were to occupy those 3 classrooms, and we don't have the entire building here, I don't think, but we would still have 2 classrooms left for instruction. Our 4th grade class is one that we're looking at right now, and at some point might need to add another section of 4th grade. But we could, like I said, 2 to 3 years probably is the max, and then we would need to recapture those classroom, the temporary board office, if you will, classrooms back for instruction. But that long-term planning, that would work for us.
Can you clarify what 3 rooms you're talking about? You're talking about the upper
Yeah.
left-hand
So
corner.
it's in the lower right-hand corner.
Okay,
It'd
you're talking
be
front.
these 3 classrooms here.
Oh, okay. And then the 4th one being our.
Well, the fourth one on the plan, but we wouldn't
Right.
propose to do anything, would be a general miles room.
Okay.
And then you have a cutout of that zooms them up, and you had or zoom there a little bit. It's really not difficult to make the move, believe it or not, because there's really not that much. I mean, everything is so digital now anymore, as long as we have electric. Yeah, so let me do this real quick.
like it.
Okay. I just want to close the board from the school in that hallway. Okay. Yeah. We essentially make that a separate building within. Okay.
So one of the issues that we're looking at is, the fact that we can just relocate the functionality of the admin office directly into these 3 classrooms without a whole lot of, a lot of permitting, no lighting changes, no HVAC changes. But what we would need to do is, in order to put that door, that double door there, we would then get into fire alarm, means of egress. That's going to take a permit. That could take a little longer. But as far as transferring function, we could really do that without any kind of permit. We do need electric and data, as Dr. Wagner alluded to, but other than that, and what we got donated, which I can show you some pictures of those, I think we're in a pretty good position to do this fairly quickly.
I mean, I'm not going to speak for the entire board, but I think the sooner the better.
Well, that ideally what we like to do is before the school year starts, because now there'll be some things like fire doors won't be in yet, and those are forthcoming. And well, go ahead and talk about what you have procured here, or it's on the way.
So I contacted someone who's donated some other furniture to us in the past, which is Hexion Corporation, Seal Board and Building down on 180 East Broad. So Joy Rockwell, who has a child in the district, she's been very good with us as they're decommissioning that building, giving us kind of first dibs on some very nice furniture. So she offered some of these quads, which are great. Can't even really see where they've been used in the past. But really, 4, they have a power pole associated. They can sit right in the middle of those classrooms and be, eminently designable. We can drop everything down the pole and make it a pretty quick transition. We just have to pull in some electric circuits and get some data into them. But actually, one of them is ready to go and ready to pick up, and the other one, in a couple of days, I'll have it tore down, palletized, so we can go pick that up. She's also donated some of the office chairs to go with these. So
that's excellent.
Yeah, very great.
In the way that Mr. Jennings explained, is those partitions aren't any higher than about 6 feet at its max, right? You want to talk about water suppression? And
so yeah, even with the glass on the side, these partitions, I think they're like 5.5 feet when I stand next to them. So, and again, you have some glass, you have some visibility there. Not a whole lot of sound attenuation, but yeah, they're let's say 5.5 feet to the top. So again, no lighting changes in the rooms, no HVAC changes. They're pretty much ideal, I think, for what we're looking for.
Start moving them in.
Well, then what we'll do also is we're not going to make any material changes to those classrooms. So anywhere where there's cubbies or whiteboards, we're going to leave everything attached. The only thing we'll take out is, Mrs. Seibel and I have been talking, she'll recapture a couple Cuomos that we can repurpose other way, and we'll keep one in there for presentation. But other than that, it's really not that difficult to make the move. And like I said, then buildings and grounds will be busier, because not only this, then we have to talk about the current board office. And the big issue there are records, and, there's a records retention policy we have to follow. And then at some point, then we raise the building, so we need to put that into our master planning probably within a year, or so. We'll have to look into it.
Or sooner.
Short-term solution
Yes.
to a long-term.
Yeah. It's not a good long-term because of our enrollment projections, and we know we're going to have to recapture those back for student use. So that's why we don't want to do too much to retrofit the rooms.
So that's why you guys were wrapping duct tape around the water line today.
It's really not that bad. The water line is deteriorated, and we're trying to do the
I'm
least
not
amount
joking. The
possible.
water line was
No,
broke today.
we haven't had water in 2 days now, so we're using alternate restrooms and all in other buildings.
And our repairs on the water line are not holding. It looks like the entire line is going to have to be replaced. It's
All the way to the
old
streets or the
duct tape.
meters.
So it's
Yeah, the shutoffs.
a mess.
Just sooner the better.
Well, we targeted no later than August 1st is to make everything active. And then, like I said, there's going to be a work in progress. So we'll have to do some fire doors and some other things. But we thought maybe a buildings and grounds meeting, we get the team together last week in July and
I think we moved just before they send us the bill on the water line that has to be totally repaved.
actually, Mr. Jenny's team has been doing that so far. So we'll see if we can pull that off with our guys. But it might become so onerous that we're going to have to get a company in here to
You just going to
replace
cut
that.
and plug it, or I mean, if we get out of there,
I'm sorry, Tim.
if we get out of there, are you just going to cut and plug that line?
Yeah, I guess we can kind of talk about that, but we can or possibly upgrade it for future use.
We talked about if we have to replace, is the line a half inch or 3/4?
The line's half inch. If
One of the
half-
things we
half inch-
talked about is if they, I'll call it packs, I know it's not exactly, but it's akin to that. If they have to go back and replace the line, so Jenny had the idea about bringing it up to a 2-inch, so then we can nub it off. So then if we did put another building there after it's raised, then we would already have that part done. So I thought that was a great idea. But that would handle your your sprinkler system.
Possible sprinkler.
Yeah. So we'll try and get buildings and grounds together last in July, but I told Mr. Jenny that we're ready to start executing the plan. So I don't need a vote from the board, but just kind of wanted to give you an update and we'll move forward.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Dave.
Next we have board committees.
Yep, moving on to board committees. Buildings and grounds. Ann?
Exciting news, we had a water line break. Mr. Jenny.
I stepped around it twice today.
I know. Mr. Jenny and his team have been working on that, and they also worked July 3rd, is that July 2nd? July 2nd on also another water issue that we had at JIS. So we appreciate that they took care of that, and it does not look like much damage to the tiles. In
Right.
fact, any damage to the tiles,
Right.
that I understand. So that's also a good thing for us, and they're cleaning that up, and we'll have that back to working condition. They've been working with the HVAC folks at Four Seasons, and I can read my own writing. They are doing some work out there on the practice field and also on the reclaim area that we talked about. I'm not sure, Amanda, if we had, I think I called and told you that, but they're going to be working on that in the fall when it's better to plant grass seed. And that reclaim area will be ready for next spring, summer practices out there. So we did gain some land, and that's been to the credit of Dr. Wagner, Tim, Dave, Jenny, I think JYAA folks were also involved with that to get that done. And that's been great. It's not large enough for a soccer field, but the band can practice out there. Other teams can go out there and practice and hold like warm-ups, things like that. So I don't think they'll hold a game, but they can certainly hold practices.
Right.
And as you know, we need green space desperately in this school district. Everybody fights for it. So,
Maybe I'll keep from here to the high school stadium. It's almost concrete by the end of the year. We've had so many kids on that. I mean, we're just, the
Well,
green
and
space is just beat down around
and
here.
they've been working on that too. Dave,
Right.
Jenny, since they have been working on getting that and making sure there's no holes and making sure it's safe for the kids. One of the things I don't think people realize is when you have practices out there for football, for soccer, that when the kids are running up and down, you don't want them to have holes, divots, things like that. And Dave, Jenny, and his team have been working on that. They worked on the stadium to have it nice for not only the fireworks, but also the stadium for graduation. And just since you're here this week, you didn't hear it last month, just want to let you know that we appreciate that. Thank you very much. There was so many compliments about how nice our grounds look. So, yeah. Thank you. It's a lot of work. There was power washing going on, all kinds of things. So,
I did have a question on
yeah.
the high school gym floor. They were going to change the finish. Did we do that? They were looking at They were? Okay.
And it's with an oil base.
Have we gotten feedback on the high school yet? Okay. Okay. Basketball chimed in yet on what they think? Okay. Because that's a not to get way into details. Volleyball likes a floor that's a little slicker. Basketball likes it a little tackier. It's never easy to get both. Volleyball likes to slide. Basketball likes to stick. I mean, that's really where you're at, and it gets very difficult to find that happy medium. You know, everyone. Oh, that's great.
Good.
Good to hear.
So
And she knows basketball. So.
That's right.
Time says she knows. Yeah.
All right, that's good to hear. I just knew I hadn't heard anything, so glad to hear. That's actually good news when I don't hear anything usually, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Then we also had finance that met on the 26th of June.
The majority of our time was spent talking about the wonderful board office and how much we should spend on it. Should we fix the water line? Of course, you got to do something. So I suggested hoses, but that didn't go real well. So I think just a garden hose to where you need it, it kind of matches the rest of the problems with the board office. But no, we have seriously talked about it's time. It's time to raise that board office. We've been as frugal as we know how. We've done as much duct tape plastering and holding together as we can. It's time for it to go. And I will just tell the board my vote is do it as soon as possible before we find something else that doesn't work well. So
I was waiting for shag carpet to come back in again, and we'd be hip.
We still have one room that has orange shag carpet.
That's
and
no joke.
And that's true. So we did speak to that, and I want to take one moment to thank Dr. Wagner for, this will come as a surprise, watch him. I really appreciate the amount of time he's spending in getting grants and money for our school district. It's not just about the taxpayer dollar that's happening in our school district. He's contacting the corporations, et cetera. If there's an extra dollar, he's finding it. So I just really want to appreciate him publicly that he's doing a wonderful job. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that about concluded after we got done talking about our wonderful building, what we could do financially. We're still desperate for land. Obviously, we need to grow, and our movement of the board office is only temporary, but we don't want to disrupt the school year or our technology or our ability to respond to the public by trying to find an off-site board office. So really, we need to stay on the campus, and so that's what we're doing. But we will certainly consider the designs for future buildings as soon as possible and the costs thereof. So that's where we are.
Mrs. Burke, can I add too that we did talk about transportation? We just we went through and looked at the contract we are with transportation. I
Yes,
believe we're in
that's
year
true.
2 of 5 with that, and just kind of wanted to review things. We spent a little bit of time there just going through things.
I shouldn't have forgotten that or
No,
been
no, it's-
remiss because
no,
it was so.
No, it was a
It
lot.
was
Going through
quite a-
contracts aren't
Yeah.
usually entertaining type of
Kind
activities,
of
but
it
it's
was
a necessary part. So we went through it. So
Yes, it was quite a financial increase for our busing transportation. So we're looking closely at alternatives. So, okay.
that's it for committee.
All right, thank you.
Good.
If we can move on to the consent agenda. If I can get a motion.
You want me to read it?
You want to go into? Yeah.
Okay, I'll read. Resolution 23-07110, which is the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
I'll just go through some of these real quick. As a reminder, today is July 10th, as we know, and that's the last day per Ohio law that you can be released from a contract without penalization. We always hate to see people leave, but there are 4 here who have elected not to continue with the school district. Kim has a treasury report. We have a transfer of unclaimed funds from food service. As a reminder, we removed CP, which is that budget stabilization. You'll see that come up in the August meeting. Next, we have board minutes, which are fairly standard. As a reminder, we also, on G for certified employment, removed the TBD for intervention specialist. And I would like to, when we're done here, have you meet Jody Graber if she can say hello. And I don't know, is Madeline Miller here too? I don't think so. Okay, we'll at least have Jody Graber say hello. Classified employment, Jackie Cannon, as a reminder, is the one we had held the hearing on last time, so she'll be a reemployed staff member if the board approves her tonight. A lot of supplementals here. We're going through. Mr. Swager already covered these. You'll see supplementals on pupil activity, and it'll depend on where we are with whether they're a staff member or not. But we're going through that review and looking at a lot of different facets there, making sure that we're as fair as we can be. And I think that's everything in consent. And can I introduce Jody real quick so she can, Mrs. Wagner, do you want to introduce her?
Hi, I'm excited to be here tonight and very excited to introduce Jody Graber. She's coming to us from Newark, where she was teaching second grade, and she'll be the student support specialist at the elementary school.
I just want to thank you all for this opportunity. I'm really excited to continue my career here now at Johnstown Elementary. Thank you.
Do you have a Johnny sweatshirt yet, or?
No, I was just asking.
Oh.
She's waiting to see if she gets approved first.
You wanted to wait till we voted,
Yeah.
and then you'll go by?
And then Kendra's here also, and she's been serving in 2 roles. So I do appreciate the board letting us, what I call kind of addition by subtraction, reorganizing some of our funds. And we didn't fulfill a couple positions, we'll let them through attrition. But this will allow separate services now. And I know Kendra was kind of struggling between which building, and we asked her to stay at JIS now full time. So she's going to do that. And then Jody will be at JIS, and of course they'll coordinate as needed. But thank you to the board again for looking at how we're restructuring that. I think it better meets student needs. And that's all we have for the discussion of the consent. Any discussion on this board?
I would just echo what Jessica said in her public comments earlier, that we need to be looking at the track at middle school. I'm sorry, I'm having allergy issues, so I apologize. When I was at the community festival, I was approached by 2 different parents that they had middle school children. It was separate from Jessica, but they also talked to me about that and said that there was a great need and there was a lot of kids. So definitely we do need to take that back, look at it. Not us, but Dr. Wagner and Coach, our athletic director, Brickner. And I know that we've looked at a lot of these contracts as far as pupil participation to ensure that we're maximizing. So we just need to be careful, because 40 kids for one coach is a lot. So.
Yep.
One paid. I mean, I do.
One paid.
Yeah, I just want to make sure everyone
Volunteer,
understands. There was another
And
volunteer
there are
there. So
volunteers.
There are
we have volunteers in a
volunteers.
lot of the organizations that.
And we appreciate all the volunteers.
And that's
I'll just
right.
say that.
That's
we appreciate all of our volunteers.
Right. We
But-
have to have volunteers to make any of our athletics work, but
But
there's
if
a
something-
balance between the two.
Right. And we absolutely need another coach, as whether it be volunteer or paid. We do need.
I see a
one.
volunteer on this
Yeah.
list tonight.
Well, yeah, but I mean, we need that to support a second bus, things like that. So
I meant your husband. Though.
yes, and I can't vote.
I know. All right. Any further discussion, questions, comments? Call the roll.
Yes.
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 I will say, I'm assuming all the supplemental groups and steps have been checked every year. This is a challenge, I know, but I just want to make sure someone checks those because I don't.
Yep, Debbie and Don
Okay.
went through them again this morning.
Okay. I never check them. I just assume you guys. That's a lot of referencing. Well, years of service and going back through and figuring that out. I looked at it one time. I was like, well, this is like 4 hours worth of work.
And then some.
Yep. All right. Thank you.
Our next item isn't really a resolution for the board, but sometimes we're required for public hearings. So this next one is for Special Education, Individuals with Disability Education Act, Title 6B, and it's for use of public funds. And this is considered a hearing. So if anyone wanted to say anything about special education, now would be the time. Otherwise, we have a continuous improvement plan that we're required to follow, and that is submitted through the state, and that is uses flow-through monies that come from the federal government. So, any questions or anything about what they call Title 6B or special education?
I do not.
I'll just note that there's no changes on how we're spending that money. We spend that on 4 teachers and our student services coordinator. Those positions are primarily funded through special education grant.
Good?
Yep.
Okay. Next resolution is Resolution 23-07-111, which is our donations.
Can I get a motion?
I'll motion.
Can we get a second?
Second.
And I see a donation from Don. I'm thinking it's Don Harvey. I'm assuming Don and Jill Harvey. Yep. Well, thank them, and that's for the school spirit bus to the softball tournament game. It's very
Thank them.
much appreciated.
Thank them for that.
Yeah. I saw him out walking the other day. So very good. So
No,
good
that's
to see.
great. That's great to hear.
Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Brewer?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Swager?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Resolution 23-07112 is the LACA Annual Service Level Agreement.
Can I get a motion?
I'll make it.
I'll second.
If you recall, this was pulled off the last agenda, so we're bringing it to you now. It's actually after the fact, but we knew that would happen because the services took effect on July 1st. But Mrs. Pulley's been working with LACA to make sure everything was completely up to date on that contract and everything's reconciled. So this is the amount now we're asking the board to approve.
Any other questions, discussion?
Just a question. Is there a breakdown on that 87,000 plus dollars, almost $88,000
Yes, we can send
for
that
the
out.
services?
We can send that out to you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Call the roll.
Mrs. Brewer?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Swager?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Resolution 23-07-113 is for a volunteer for the 23-24 school year. And we pulled Mr. Thomas out so there wouldn't be a potential conflict of interest. So that's why he's not in the larger group.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
A second. Can't even make a motion.
No, not even any volunteers. That's the best part. Yes. Yeah, obviously thank your husband for volunteering.
Happy to do it. Thank you.
Call the roll.
Mrs. Brewer?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Swager?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Abstain.
It's one way to have a family feud.
Any board comments? Any additional? Back to you.
Just a couple of things real quick is the state budget was approved since we've last met. Generally, and we're still coming through it because there's a lot of detail there. We think it has a negative or neutral impact to our school districts, so it's not going to do too much one way or the other. For some school districts, it does a lot. For ours, the way we're structured, just the way we're positioned, it's not going to do much for us. One of the things we are looking at within that, though, is now there's a state minimum teacher salary. And I think we're going to be okay at all of our levels with where we are. But I know we've run up against some issues to trying to attract certain staff. And I know there's been some discussion about whether we, for hard to fill positions, sometimes we've had to go to a higher step. So that'll be something we'll wrap into this too. And Mrs. Pulley's looking at that analysis already. Okay. Independence Day activities or fireworks. There's another meeting scheduled this Wednesday with the group, and I'll be there. Tentatively, it looks like, and again, this is not finalized from the fireworks group yet, but tentatively it could be August 18th, which is a Friday, and we would partner that with a home football game, so we could have really a wonderful event, and so right after the football game. So I'll know more by midweek and give the board an update. That keeps us awake periodically. That's a little bit, yeah. Next on district vehicles, I know we talked about this a little bit in some committees as well too. We've had a situation where in food service they have a vehicle that doesn't necessarily meet their needs. Sometimes you have to. They sometimes call them a pie wagon, or they need a vehicle that they can transport food, and you need a lift on it and all. And the vehicle just is too big. It hasn't really worked out. So I'm talking to Mr. Jenny. He's working on this now. And what we're looking at is if maintenance would take that vehicle that would serve their needs, we'd send it all over to maintenance. And in exchange, maintenance has been looking for a full-size van. And then we've talked to Mr. Cartwright, and that would meet his needs then. So the only thing we'd have to do if we secure a van is to have a power lift or a gate on the bottom of that. So as we know, there's still a low inventory of vehicles, so we're going to look for new or nearly new. And we had a conversation with Mr. Cartwright already about that, so more to come there. But I think that'll be a good kind of exchange and would he meet everyone's needs then? So, nothing the board needs to
Will
do
Max
right
give you a good deal when he sells you that one, you think?
Actually, we own it as a district. So, yeah, there was, Mrs. Pulley reminded me that there was some reconciliation of food service versus general fund. So the general fund actually owns that right now, so it'll be easy to kind of do that.
What happened with the vehicle that was in the accident, the bus that we owned, or
The CBS
Yeah,
bus.
yeah, the small CBS one, that's still with the insurance. I don't think they're, yeah, it's told,
It
but
was
I don't think
totaled.
they're gonna, yeah. The frame was actually bent on that. It was so bad when the truck went underneath.
So are we looking to replace that, or?
We have to get with CBS on where they are with that, because that was an extra vehicle that we used. So I have to look at where their plan is. Yeah, but I will do that.
Because didn't the golf team?
Golf team used it. We also used it for some smaller transportation routes. We had some CTAC, special education. We used a little bit, yeah. So we have to see. That was kind of a unique situation this year. So we'll have to see if they need it again. But that's part of that larger study. We're talking about routes and all too. So we'll get back on top of CBS and see where they are with that.
When the CTEC kids are late, they have to sign in, even if it's the school bus arriving.
Yeah.
They put that on their actual permanent record, and even though they say it doesn't count against them, we do get the letter even from the Truancy, or not Truancy, but the
No, it's a House Bill 440 language that we have to follow because, yeah, it's a House, but it's a House Bill 440 language that we have to follow, and it doesn't have a lot of teeth, but it still is bothersome when you see it sometimes.
And we're
For some-
trying to
some
teach our
people,
kids to be on time, especially
Yes.
future careers right there.
No, I get it. It's a good point. It's just, we are snug on some of our staffing, so sometimes they have to collapse routes and all too, and it makes it difficult, but it is a real issue. So.
You can drive in a pinch.
What's
You
that?
can drive in a pinch.
Nope, don't have my license. Nope. I could do it off property, but I don't. I no longer have a bus driver's license. That was in college. There's a reason why I don't have the license. Only because I don't want to work from a bus seat and try to work and try to do my job at the two. As a reminder, convocation is August 15th. We'd like to see if the board can participate. That's the only day we have in the school year that everyone's together. August 15th. I sent you an invite in your calendar so I can push it out again. I'll try to get you out of there early. If you can get there a little before 8 and probably by about 9:30 you can be out there. But it's just nice to have everyone together. It's our one and only time per year, and nice celebration all too. So if the board can participate, that would be great. I've done that in previous districts, and it goes well. So I'll send you that. I'll send that invitation out again. Personnel updates. You know that we've filled most of our positions. There's a few that are still open. So no. Makes you wonder, like, what I said that initiated that, because usually it's like if I say the word serious, if I say the word serious, it'll be Siri picks it up or something. But I trained to enunciate. So anyways, there's some positions. I put them in the Friday report, so we're still trying to fill some. Treasurer positions still open. Been going through a process there. It's later in the year to try and find a treasurer, and then honestly, with year-end closing, it's a busy time. That's why likes me now.
I know.
I shoot him your way.
I know. Thank you.
Name's over here. Take 'em your way.
Thank you. So we're still looking for treasurer. I may have to come to the board with an interim, for a period of time. I don't know how long, but we'll work on that as a team. So it could be 3 months, 6 months, even longer. But I think if we get into even the new calendar year, that's going to deeper pull because people can start looking when there's more runway to, more time, and then also when we're not everyone's trying to close the school year, fiscal year. So I'll keep the board updated about that. And I believe that's it, unless there's any questions for me. No?
I have none. Okay. Anything else?
No. Next resolution is Resolution 23-07-114, and that's executive session. And it's for the purpose to consideration of appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employer official, and we do not expect any action from the board afterwards.
Sounds good. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Call the roll.
Yes.
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 6:25.
And Mr. Swagger, I told Mrs. Pulley she doesn't need to stay for executive session. I should have talked to you before, but I think there was a need for her. So unless you have a difference.
Is this her last meeting?
Well, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Kim. We wish you well.
Thank you,
Yes.
Kim.
We're going to have a little.
Wonderful to get to know you.
We're going to have a little get together on July 31st. So if you had a couple minutes, you can stop over. Right.